Personal, more tricky and more awkward. So, you good to go?
I'm ready, sure.
Okay, so 25. How much would someone have to pay you to use a BlackBerry phone as your day-to-day phone?
I wouldn't be very happy, probably.
Fair enough.
But, you know, they made an Android BlackBerry with a touch, I'm forgetting the name of it, with the flip-out keyboard, front-facing speakers.
I know you're
it's
on
not
that,
the
yeah.
Priv, but the one after that, I think. I think I could actually...
Priv is a terrible name.
Yeah, yeah. I could make that
You
work
could do it.
without getting paid,
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Windows Phone will come too. Do you think you'd...
Так, стоп. Что тут еще у нас? Что-то я еще забыл. Что я забыл? А, ну да. И еще одну штуку я забыл. Да, понимаешь, вы понимаете меня? Эй! Ух ты! Ой! А чё он тут прям сразу такой, не знаю? Ну я знаю, ладно. Ну он тебя забыл, все. Ну наоборот, ну вот это и есть он самый. Ну наоборот только, да. Ну да, daily speaker, да, понимаю. Горластый, говорит. Подработать? Нет. Нет. Ой, я уж сейчас не помню. Зачем? Ладно. Ой. Да наоборот, Никто не знает, никто не знает, кто здесь. Да наоборот. Зачем это наоборот? Ну наоборот тогда, да. Да наоборот, да наоборот. Да, типа, ой, я вот такой, еще все, такое. Ладно. В принципе, почему бы нет, вроде как, да. Эй!
YouTube Rewind is going to be worse or better this year?
I think it has to get better.
It can't get
I
worse,
think,
can it?
yeah, it can't be any worse. I think, well, they'll learn from their mistake, right? From the previous
Yeah.
2019 will be better.
So you mentioned in your Pixel 4 video that the phone has a lot of shortcomings, just things that you kind of expect from other phones and are missing, like ultra-wide camera, lack of storage. Do you think that is an intentional move from Google because they're targeting a market that doesn't really care about that stuff, or do you think it's just a misstep?
Pixels have never had incredible hardware. If you think back to Pixel 2 and Pixel 3, you know, not the flashiest screen, not the most amazing design. They had great cameras, but we all saw what happened to the internals, we all saw what happened to the performance, so I think maybe our expectations were a bit high.
But our expectations are set by price, and it's basically $999 if you want like a good amount of storage and battery, right?
It's priced right alongside those top dogs. Yeah, they priced it too high.
So related to the Pixel, as I was testing the Pixel 4, I did notice that Google has started to make the phone more aware. They've got radar, they've got better face scanning, and it kind of feels like they don't want you to touch your phone as much. Do you feel like that is where phones are headed? Do you feel like after touch, voice is going to be the next thing, and then after that maybe mind control?
Well, I mean, it feels more convenient to not have to pick up the phone and hold it and use it.
So you're a fan of gestures?
Some of them, yes.
Yeah.
And some of them not so much. Like, I like the squeeze for assistant, actually. You're still touching the phone, but it's more of just like a casual, like, squeeze it, ask it a question. You don't have to yell the key phrase or whatever. So, you know, it's a little more convenient that way. It feels that. Yeah.
Not so much this.
Not as much of a fan of that, yeah.
Okay. Quite a big question. So if someone came to you, they were currently using a Nokia 3310, they were locked into no ecosystem at all, and they asked you which phone to buy, what is your gut feeling?
I'm going to guess that this is a person who doesn't have a whole lot of criteria in a phone because they just really make phone calls and maybe text. I'd have to ask them a couple questions probably. But if they just came from that phone and they want the best, I would probably hand them an iPhone 11 Pro. I'd say be careful with the ecosystem because there's a whole bunch of other fences that you can build around yourself. But this phone will text great, it'll make calls great, it'll do a whole bunch of other fun stuff.
You heard it here.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite camera phone between iPhone, Samsung, Pixel?
Right at this very moment, iPhone 11 is my favorite camera in a phone. Now we're saying this right at the beginning of me testing Pixel 4, which I think takes pictures that I like the style of a little bit more, a little contrast here, a little bit more detail, but the video is sort of lacking. So I think my default smartphone camera right now is the iPhone 11 Pro that I carry.
The easiest to get the best result.
Yeah, point and shoot. I don't go into manual controls that much at all, so yeah.
So foldable phones, we've talked about foldables a while ago, and do you think foldable phones are a destination? Are they like a form factor that's here to stay, or do you think it's a stopgap between flat phones and flexible phones?
I think the foldable thing is here to stay. And if I was looking at the future, you know, a crystal ball, I would say the whole idea of having a big screen whenever you want, but that you can fit in a small space like your pocket that you can fold up and tuck away is like, that idea is here to stay. I think that's the beginning. Now we're starting to see foldable phones.
So you think even 4 years onwards, foldables will still look something like the Galaxy Fold? Just better?
Yeah, I think so.
So if you could pick one moment out of like your entire YouTube career, what would you say gave you the biggest rush?
Oh, wow. Recency bias, but I would say when I first started doing these interviews, just the fact that anyone was willing to just spend the time and talk tech with no agenda, they're not promoting anything, they just want to hang out. I think interviewing Elon probably comes to mind, where like,
Because that was the first one.
one of the first big ones where like he was just like, yeah, let's just sit down and just talk. I've had others since then where they're specifically doing a press tour. Like that's something that happens when you do interviews, but yeah, just sitting down and casually chatting.
And he's a busy guy.
He's a very busy man, so I'd say that.
We talked about this earlier, Realme. You said you haven't heard of them, but what is your initial reaction to this phone that's just been announced, the X2 Pro? So it's got a 90Hz display, Snapdragon 855 Plus, 64 megapixel camera, and China price is less than $400.
Yeah, so there's this whole brand of phones I'm seeing come up actually, similar to this one, where you'll see like incredibly a 90Hz display, a Snapdragon 855 Plus, all these high-end specs, and a pretty decent looking design at an incredibly low price. And I'm loving that hardware competition. I want to get more of these phones in my hands because it's sort of like a poker phone area where like the specs don't tell the whole story, and you actually have to use it to get to know what it does well and doesn't. But
And there weren't many weaknesses on the Poco. Do you agree?
right, yeah, exactly.
Solid
The
phone.
camera turned out better than I expected. Like,
Yeah.
when I see $400, I'm like, camera's gonna be bad. But it turned out okay. So yeah, I want to use more of these phones and figure that stuff out.
Yeah, Realme. them up.
Yeah.
So the more I'm starting to talk to people about phones, the more I'm starting to get the impression that the tech community is this a little bit of a bubble, and the actual main factors of people buying phones are not which one has the best camera and which one has the best display, but more about which one is going to give people less hassle. Do you agree with that, or do you think that something else is maybe the most important thing?
I've tried to do more of these real-world tests with people, and I sometimes just hand a phone to someone and say, what do you think? And obviously they can't get the full usage experience, but typically what I found is cameras do matter a lot to people. They just want it to take good pictures instantly and not have to think about it, and they want it to be fast, and most of the rest of it is just, are my apps going to be fine?
So it's ease.
So the ease of use, and it kind of turns into an ecosystem thing when you bring up apps, because then if your other ecosystem doesn't have those apps, then that's what you end up talking about, but it turns into ecosystem and camera.
Do you actually use wireless charging?
I do.
You do?
I have a Pixel stand on my desk, I have a Pixel stand next to my bed, and anytime I can, especially with this phone, I will wireless charge.
And you do think it makes your life easier?
It does. It really depends on the phone, because some phones, especially lately, will have these gigantic batteries, where I use the phone differently. Like I don't charge most of the day, and then I'll just plug in at night and be fine.
Right. Yeah.
But then there's these other phones with super fast charging, so I'll use those differently. I'll plug in the car, I'll plug in 5 minutes at my desk, 5 minutes at home, and then I'm just always at a high state of charge. So it just depends on the phone, but with wireless it's definitely easier.
And if you had to guess, how many phones do you think you have in this studio?
Ooh, wow. Smartphones. How many smartphones do I have in this room? I would say it is a 3-digit number, less than 200, over 100.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's way too many.
What do you plan to do with them?
No, I don't have any plans for any of them. I mean, we just get phones here, so they just sort of just accumulate, so it's not like I'm planning on hoarding more phones, but they sort of end up here.
It happens, yeah.
Yeah, I just bought a Pixel 4 and a Pixel 4 XL, so there's more on the way.
And what would you say is the best collab you've ever done, apart from this one?
The best YouTube collab?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. Because I've done collabs on other channels and
Right,
collabs on my own channel.
You've done Casey's tour, you've done all those other things.
Yeah, oh man, recency bias again, but I'm gonna go with so it's Truth or Dab, where Sean Evans, awesome host, hosts a YouTube chicken wing show, but also does this Truth or Dab spin-off, had Casey and I on, and of course his questions are super well researched, and the whole ecosystem of that show is just fascinating, so I'm gonna go with that actually.
Okay, 90 Hz displays. You talk about them quite a lot, you really like them.
Love them.
You love them. Okay, 90 Hz displays. You talk about them quite a lot, you really like them.
Love them.
You love them. Is that a sweet spot? Do you think actually we benefit from going to 120 Hz?
Yeah, I've played with that a little bit in my head. I think it is kind of a sweet spot. I definitely noticed the difference between 60 and 90, and then I played with the ROG Phone 2 at 120, and I felt like I sometimes noticed the difference, but again, your power draw is going to be 1.5 times again, so I think, 90 seems like a sweet spot, but also underrated is the touch response frequency. So you have 120 Hz touch response on an iPhone that makes that 60 feel smoother than a Samsung Note 10 60. So yeah, you have to get a number of factors right, but I think 90 Hz refresh rate is a good middle ground.
Have you ever taken a different angle shot in one of your videos just to flex your shoes?
Yes. Yes, I have. And that's something I can say I've done this year. We just did that with the Apple Watch video. Or is that what you were referencing?
Maybe.
I think that's the most dramatic version I've ever done. Yeah, I have at least that one time done a alternate angle just to flex a little bit.
So, Marquez, are you planning on being part of the Team Trees campaign?
I am. I'm actually already a part of it. I know that I won't be in town, unfortunately, on the day that it all drops, which is going to be phenomenal, but I do plan on participating.
Cool. And for those of you guys who don't know what that is, essentially we're trying to do our bit. We realize that YouTube is this massive responsibility and we can make a massive change. So it's basically the biggest YouTube collab ever, organized by Mr. Beast, Mark Rober, and we're going to try and plant trees. 20 million trees.
With enough money raised, it's $1 a tree. If they can raise 20 million bucks, they can plant effectively 20 million trees and make the biggest difference possible in the name of YouTube creators making a positive impact on the world.
It would be insane. So I will leave a link below for that. Yeah, so to what extent do you script your videos? Because on one hand, they do come across like you're just having a conversation, but they always have a structure.
Yeah, I would say 90+% of what I say is scripted. The challenge is information density. Like, there's a lot of things that I want to say in as short of amount of time as possible, so I'm trying to structure it in a way that sort of flows from point to point. So I would say, yeah, it's a good 90%.
So I remember you saying that you don't really watch much TV.
Right.
You don't really play many video games. So between Frisbee and flying to meet celebrities, what do you do in your spare time?
Eat, sleep, play a little NBA 2K, and dream about the next video. That's mainly
Good answer. Good
yeah.
answer. Okay, so right now I've got a couple of true and false questions here.
Okay.
It's not a test, no pressure. They're pretty wacky.
It's a
So-
test.
Okay, so 3 questions. So the first one is, Apple displays the time on iPhones in promotional materials as 9:41 a.m. on purpose.
That's true. It's on purpose, and I'm trying to remember why it's 9:41. Is it because 9:41? Is that just because the hands are all like evenly spread out? Or?
No, they do something like that for the Apple Watches,
Right.
but it's separate for the iPhone. It's to do with when the first iPhone was announced. It was like 40 minutes into the presentation,
Oh, okay.
and they wanted the time to line up with the actual time.
То же самое.
Okay, so Huawei has a rotating chairman system. So every few months, they change the deputy chairman.
I don't think I've ever seen that in a company before, but that doesn't mean Huawei doesn't do it. I'm gonna go false.
That one's true.
That one's true.
But you
Really?
did say you could believe it, so fair enough. The third one is that Samsung already has a patent for a flying car.
For a flying car. I could also believe this because Samsung makes everything. They make washers and dryers and refrigerators. And let's go with true.
That one's false.
Oh, man. Samsung, come on.
4 questions left, and number 4 is, would you rather lose 1 million subscribers, or would you rather have to use a Windows phone as the only phone for the next 5 years?
5 years.
5 years.
Oh, that's easy. I'd rather lose a million subscribers. Yeah. If you look in the YouTube analytics, you can see how many subscribers you've already lost
Right.
versus gained, and I have already lost more than a million subscribers total in the lifetime of the channel. It hurts to say that out loud, but
That's
it's true.
crazy. And on the
It's total you've already
million as the 4 is, would you rather lose 1 million subscribers, or would you rather have to use a Windows phone as the only phone for the next 5 years?
5 years.
5 years.
Oh, that's easy. I'd rather lose a
Million.
million subscribers. Yeah. If you look in the YouTube analytics, you can see how many subscribers you've already lost
Right.
versus gained, and I have already lost more than a million subscribers total in the lifetime of the channel. It hurts to say that out loud, but
That's
it's true.
crazy. And on the subject of subscribers, who's going to hit 10 million first? You or Linus?
It's gonna be real close, man. I think we've got an edge on him right now, but you know he's always got his tricks, and so we'll have to see. But let's go Team MKBHD to 10
Yeah.
mil first.
Okay, so number 2.
Mhm.
How many of Sony's past flagships can you name?
Wow, not enough.
No.
So Sony Xperia 1 is the last one I used, and then I have to go back another like 2 years, and they're horrible with naming.
That's the thing, yeah.
Horrible. XV. I'm gonna just stop there because I'm
Yeah,
gonna start naming
it's
files
bad.
that don't exist.
So the K,
Yeah.
the middle name, right? You're revealing it at 10 million. So if I were to like go onto Google now
Yeah.
and type in your name, it would
Yeah.
say it's Keith. Is there a possibility it's not? Are we gonna have to wait and see?
Yeah, you're gonna have to wait and see. So
Okay.
there's a fun fact that you can't edit your own Wikipedia page. So every time someone edits my Wikipedia page, it becomes a thing like, oh, that's gotta be what it is.
Oh.
And I can't change it or correct it. And if you do this enough times, Wikipedia will lock it for vandalism at whatever the latest change is. Because people just keep editing it, I can't correct it, so you'll just have to wait till.
This is a plot twist.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, I thought I had you.
Yeah, so there you have it.
There we go. That's a wrap. Thanks a lot for having me.
This has been fun.
This has
Thank
been
you
really
for
fun,
the
yeah.
25 questions.
The tour's been amazing. I wish I could have shown you guys some more of it, but the studio is incredible, and as you know, he's moving soon. I'll drop a channel link if you don't already know, but you know, who doesn't? And yeah, catch you in the next one.
Exciting times. Peace.
Ну нет, наоборот. Наоборот, наоборот. А что надо там? Замки играть нужно.
Ваш ребенок не хочет учиться.
Чем?
Вы устали с ним делать домашнее задание. Переживаете за его будущее. Он не...
Не надо, не надо. Не надо.
Tech companies have figured out how to squeeze the most positive, favorable coverage out of YouTubers and journalists. And to be honest, I think it's time you knew about it. So, I've been working with Marquez, MK PhD, to lay out the 5 key ways that these tech companies manipulate the media. Now, one thing that seems to be increasing at an alarming rate is giveaways with the launch of reviews. Now, don't get me wrong, giveaways can be a great thing, but
А, думаешь? Там какая-то стройка нарисована, вообще что-то непонятно.
My friend Radoš, I think that was around 5 years ago, he told me I should definitely learn to play timpani.
Why?
To feel more of this elastic quality in the wrist. Especially when you play more forte, so louder, more majestic passages, let's say. And after this actually advice I did for a semester in Berlin, I took some very basic lessons of timpani, and I have to say it really was extremely fun.
Actually, I'm curious because you said that you had a fairly normal upbringing.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering how that is possible because I know that your parents are both pianists, or
Yes.
and
Yeah,
it
I
seems like a very piano-centric household.
Yes, certainly. With diversions, let's say. I mean, I didn't
Наоборот, так
concentrate only on piano. I was in high school like most of my peers, and after finishing high school, I wasn't really sure I would continue the musical path. I had some doubts.
What did you want to do?
I was between philosophy and physics.
Okay.
Yes, these were like the two things that most.
So, but your first piano teacher was your
My mom.
father or
My
your
mom.
mother?
My mom and then my father soon after.
Wow.
So for
And
like
that
yeah.
was never like a source of stress or strain
No,
on your
because
relationship?
somehow, especially my father was able to differentiate. Whenever he was teacher, we barely had lessons at home. We never had lessons at home. It was mostly in the music school where I was studying. And then at home it was like
Separate
yeah.
also the places.
Yeah.
Of course.
I see.
And what about you?
What
Yes.
what about you?
Sorry?
Was there a lot of, are your parents musicians? Was there music in the house?
My parents aren't musicians, but they love music, and they can listen to my music and they can make reviews on it.
Yes. And did you also learn other instruments, or did you go directly to piano and you stayed there on piano your entire life?
I tried violins and drums when I was small, but I choose to continue with the piano.
Did you not feel at ease with the violin? It was not your instrument.
Maybe just my preference.
Yeah, of course.
Well, it's also very uncomfortable. I mean,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
you don't feel at ease with the violin, you know. Piano
Especially
is
the first 5 years.
exactly. Well, I mean, I would say.
And also piano is more fun. You can just
Let's say
You get
piano is a
banged
better
on the
instrument.
keyboard.
Let's
do
say.
something very quickly. You have a feedback.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Really,
But I mean, you see it all day. I mean,
You
well,
sit
what's
all day.
best? Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. You don't even have to stand up, right?
It's very comfortable.
very
Absolutely.
comfortable until you are starting to have a lot of back problems. Because you have been too comfortable.
Yeah, that's also why we tend to also.
Yes,
know.
we should talk like this.
Should we sit up straight?
Yes,
Better posture?
Yeah, it's not perfect chairs for that, but it could be.
I wonder maybe this is why somebody like Volodos sits with the
Might
The
well be.
back.
Yes.
yeah, with the chair with the back.
You should all go to the gym.
I think you do, no?
I really do. I really do.
Okay.
But yeah,
I can feel it.
You can feel it
I
in the
didn't
air.
see it, I just feel it.
I'm very lazy. Yes.
Okay.
That's for sure. I actually have a membership to the gym. And I don't even know where it is, honestly. I don't even know where the building is. There was an ad, and I subscribed. It was very interesting. I thought it was going to be good for myself, and I feel good. Knowing that I have a membership, I feel good, of course. But yeah,
it was a little too interesting.
I was a bit too interested.
Then you said, next time.
Exactly. No, it's to get all the commercials and stuff.
I have now less interesting stuff to do.
Really?
I will first do that.
What about you, Sushi? Do you also do sport? Some activities, some exercise?
I don't do exercises very often, but sometimes maybe jogging is the most frequent thing. But it's not that frequent, it's just like 1 to 2 times per week.
Oh, that's
more than a year.
It's not bad, it's not bad.
What about the first time you learned about the Chopin competition? Any memories there? Any inspiration? When did you want to come? When did you know?
Well, it's probably a subconscious will that somehow everyone has, and then it materializes over the years. It's not something that you say, okay, I want to go. It happens probably throughout the years, I think. But probably the first time I followed it was 2010. Yeah. As far as I remember.
Well, for me, as I said, Chopin is it's been present as a composer throughout my musical life, always. And as the composer I played most, and his music is always very interesting, refined, and speaks to my heart more than others. At the moment, at least, you know, until now. And I grew up watching, especially down the street, videos from the 2010 competition. And again, subconsciously, I think that too, it kind of grows inside of you, and then one day you're like, I could be on that stage and I could do the same exact thing, and it's not real until it happens, and even when it happens, it doesn't feel real.
That seems to be a common kind of reaction.
Yeah,
it's like, I can't believe that happened. Did it, like, they have to go
Yes,
check
I
the
need 2 months to
performances.
process it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, probably a few years. But it's unbelievable, yeah.
I heard about the Chopin competition in 2015 because I was in my friend's house and he is watching the videos on the YouTube, and that's my first time I've ever heard about the competition, and I saw that every participant in that competition is almost perfect. So then I realized it's a world-class competition, and I'm focusing on it.
And did you decide that you wanted to take part in the competition?
Sorry?
When did you decide that you really wanted to play in this hall, on this stage? Why did you decide to come?
Because I participated in a Korean Chopin competition, and they suggested me to come to this bigger one, and they said I can directly go to the preliminary round, so I think it's quite challenging to be here. So I'm curious to see which stage I can go. So I come to